Welcome, everyone. We're going to start shortly. Just allowing everyone to enter. Welcome, everyone. Buenas tardes. Welcome to our cooking demonstration and presentation today. I'm Adriana Mendoza, ARP California Associate State Director for Advocacy and Community Engagement. And on behalf of ARP California, I welcome all of you as we kick off Hispanic Heritage Month. Aquí in ARP, we like to say that at ARP, somos la fiesta, where everyone's welcome. Somos a diverse community. Somos los que sabemos guiar. Somos ARP. We invite you to celebrate our heritage surrounded by salud, dinero, y mucho amor. This year, we're recognizing and highlighting how we as Latinos and Hispanics are proud of our heritage. Our hope is that by the end of today's program, you'll feel inspired and want to learn more about our rich Latino heritage and, of course, the culinary arts. Today's speaker will talk about one of our passion points, which is food. She will highlight the contributions of Latinos to the culinary arts, specifically Afro-Latinos, in this cooking demonstration today. So to get us started, let's see where people are joining us from. We'd like to know where you're joining. Oh God, we have someone from Texas, Connecticut, Glendora, California, of course, Los Angeles. Welcome, Texas.
I'm from Texas.
I know, like this from Texas.
New York.
New York, Oregon, Jersey Shore. Wow. Okay, so it's quite late for the East Coast. Thank you for joining at this time. I promise you're gonna have a great time in the next hour, and
Florida.
that's awesome to see where everyone is joining us from.
Detroit. That's amazing. People are all over.
Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you so much. Maite is, again, it's my honor to introduce Maite Gomez Rejon, who is our chef for today. And Maite has a lot of amazing credentials and accolades. I invite you to learn more about Maite on her website. And Maite is the founder of Art Bites. She has dedicated her entire career to exploring the nexus of art and culinary history through lectures, cooking classes, tastings. She's presented at various museums, universities all around the country. And most recently, today is actually, she also has a podcast called Hungry for History with Eva Longoria and Maite Gomez Rejon, which again, season 2 starts today. So again, we welcome you to today's program, and I'm not going to take any more time because you have to now hear from our invited chef, Maite Gomez Rejon. Welcome, Maite.
Thank you, Adriana, and thank you all so much for joining from all over California and from across the country. So I'm really grateful that everyone is here today. And so, like Adriana said, I will, to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month, be talking about the Afro-Latino history in Mexico and its contribution to food. So what I'll do is, with Art Bites, I combine art history with food history, but today I'm going to focus a little bit just on the food history. And I'm going to make 2 different recipes. Well, one recipe, and then make some fried plantains to go with it, which is a salsa macha. And I feel like salsa machas are really popular right now. It's this, when we think of matcha, it's like this the macho, but the feminine of macho. It's sort of this brave sauce. But it also could come from the word machacar, which in Spanish means to crush. So it's this crushed sauce It's very oily, with chile, with nuts, with seeds. And it's a really interesting sauce that was first made in Veracruz, in the coast of Veracruz, on the east coast of Mexico, on the Gulf. And it's super interesting. So the state of Veracruz, is very interesting. And if we're thinking about Afro cuisine, Afro Mexicans, people were entering through Mexico. Many of them are people, commodities, ingredients, was entering Mexico after the conquest, either from the coast of Veracruz or from the coast of Acapulco. So the city and the state of the same name, or from Acapulco in Guerrero. And these were the two cities that were the hubs of trade with Europe. And many of the ships that were coming with commodities from Europe were actually making their way, or making a stop from Spain to the Philippines, which was a Spanish, colony at the time in the 16th century, 16th through 19th century, and getting a bunch of ingredients and commodities and textiles and porcelain from the Philippines and making its way into Europe. And so it's a very interesting interaction of things that were being sent over. So the salsa macha that I'm going to be making is very similar to the Asian chili sauce that we see in any Chinese restaurant. So it's a very similar sauce, but there is evidence that the totonacs, which are native to this area of Veracruz, were making a very similar sauce before the conquest. But the Afro connection to this is the fact that it has these two ingredients, which are sesame seeds and a little bit of sugar. And I'm going to make them, or serve them, on fried plantains, my favorite food in the whole wide world. And so these three ingredients, sesame seeds, bananas, and sugar, made their way to Mexico via, Spain, Philippines, but from Africa. So these are three ingredients that actually made their way to Mexico from Africa. And the sugar is actually native to India, but and also bananas, but these are actually native. It's a seed that's actually native to Africa. So really quite interesting. So African, or Mexicans with African descent, make up 2% of the population of Mexico. And between the mid 16th century to the early 19th century, over 500,000 enslaved Africans were actually taken against their will from their homes in Africa and brought to Mexico. It's a part of history that we don't really think about. We usually think about the transatlantic slave trade in the US and in the South, and the sugar plantations, and in the Caribbean or Brazil. We don't really think about it in terms of Mexico, but it was also happening in Mexico. So over 500,000 enslaved Africans were brought over to Mexico to work as domestic laborers, to work in sugar plantations. Sugar was actually brought into Mexico along with the enslaved Africans, also to work on ranches, to work in silver mines. The first sugar mill in Mexico was actually planted and established as early as 1536. The conquest began in 1519 to 1520. So very early in San Andres Tuxtla, which is in Veracruz. And in this, a few years later, around 1570, there was a young man named Gaspar Yanga. He was brought, very strong young man, brought to Mexico to work in sugar. And he rebelled against all of this, against the Spanish crime, and he led a group of fugitives to escape this area and to sort of hide and escape in the mountains, in the very sort of dense mountains. And he was able to establish He fought the colonial government to regain control, and he was able to establish an independent colony of freed enslaved or former enslaved Africans. So this is really the city is now called Yanga. It's named after him. It's the first self-liberated and independent town in the Americas. There's a huge sculpture of him in this town. He's holding a machete and he's also holding a sugar cane in the other hand. And also, this was a man that worked in sugar, but also when we think of this period, the colonial era, when we think of colonial candies, Mexican candies, a lot of milk, a lot of sugar, these were all ingredients that were coming in. Again, the sugar that was being harvested and that was being made really by enslaved Africans. And in the food of the time was being developed mainly in convents, in colonial convents. So it was mainly European nuns, Spanish nuns, or nuns of Spanish descent. But the women that were actually doing the cooking were either indigenous women or African women. So the women that were actually adding the flavor, the sazon to Mexican cooking were not necessarily the Spaniards, but they were the indigenous and the Africans, the people who we don't know their names, but they were the ones that were helping developing these foods and bringing their techniques and blending them together. So things like mole that has chiles from Mexico, or we're using like 2 ounces of chiles here. I have dried chile chipotle and dried chile de árbol. Chiles, nuts like peanuts, pecans are what I'm using today. Pecans are actually native to the Americas. Garlic that was brought over from Europe. So we have things like the native chiles and pecans with the old world garlic, and then things like sesame seeds. And these are ingredients that we see in stews or sauces like mole, right? So this is sort of this blending of all of these different worlds, the indigenous world, the European world, and then also the African world. It's actually known as the third root of Mexico. So Mexico has 3 roots: the indigenous root, the Spanish root, and the African root. And it wasn't until 2020, which is nothing, this is 4 years ago, it's nothing, that the African population in Mexico was actually recognized by Mexico's constitution. But it really it's so interesting that after so many years, so many contributions, that it's only now being embraced and seen as an important part of Mexican history. Definitely not only culinary history, but also music and dance. I mean, it's when we think of son jarocho from Veracruz, the song La Bamba, this is a song that everybody's familiar with. That is a song that has African elements and African rhythms. So it's very much a huge part of the history. And even, in fact, really early on in the country, 1521, Hernan Cortés, who was the main conqueror of Mexico, he bought 6 Africans in Cuba and brought them in Mexico via Veracruz. So everything was entering Veracruz. And if you haven't been, I encourage you to visit. It's a very, very, very interesting city. And there's a region in the city of Veracruz where Africans actually lived, and all of the houses are built from ships that were basically that they came in from, and taking the wood from the ships and building all of this house. It's a very small section that has all of these houses built of wood from ships. That's really kind of, the area is really kind of falling apart, but it's fascinating. And there's a whole section that has street musicians and food, and it's just amazing. So I really wanted to make something from this part of the country, and the salsa macha is from this, and we're going to kick up the sesame seeds to just because it's part of this history. So I'm just going to start making it. It's a very oily sauce. When we think of Mexican sauces, we usually think of tomato and chile and just fresh and cilantro and herbs. This is a really a quite different sauce. It's much, like I said, it's much more like an Asian chile sauce, and it's also, yeah, like I mentioned, this Philippine sort of, connection, this Asian connection. So it's kind of a mix of all of these different worlds, kind of like mole, in a much simpler way. Mole takes forever to make. This is very, very simple. So I'm going to start, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And the recipe will be shared, but I'm just going to be, you know, telling you the ingredients as I go if you want to write it down. So I have a skillet here. I'm just going to light it over high heat, actually medium heat, and I'm going to add about a cup and a half of oil, and I'm using I feel like there was just a car accident outside of my window. So I'm adding about a cup and a half of oil, and I'm using grapeseed oil, which is just a mild, flavorless oil. You can also use olive oil, but I wouldn't use like a really good extra virgin olive oil. I would maybe just use like a regular sort of olive oil. It doesn't have to be anything, really, really, really fancy. But this is just, I like this. It burns at a high temperature. It's flavorless, so it's not gonna compete with anything that I'm gonna be putting this on. So as this comes to a heat, I have 6 cloves of garlic that I'm gonna slightly just smash a little bit and peel. Oh, need a little trash can there. And as I peel the garlics, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. So now I can't see my screen from where I am. So
We're tracking the questions, so
okay.
So yeah, we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just smashing it just to peel them. I'm gonna leave them whole. I'm not gonna slice them or anything. Eventually, I'm gonna put everything in this little food processor that I have here. You can put it in a blender. But like I said, this I smashed a lot. This is a salsa matcha, and I like to think of it as both matcha because it's so spicy, but also matcha from machacar, which is kind of squish.
So, Maite, someone's asking if they noticed you're using the cast iron pan. Is it necessary, or can any pan work?
Any pan, yeah, any pan work. 100%. Yeah, I have this cast iron. I got it maybe a little over a year ago, and I use it all the time, and
It
I
looks
love
great.
I love it. Yeah, it's my favorite thing. But no, you don't have to use cast iron.
Okay.
It's
And
not.
then Lisa has a question about this is a good question about garlic, since I love garlic myself. Could you substitute the refrigerated garlic from produce section of the grocery store?
Oh, that's a good question. The refrigerated garlic, does it already come like this peeled, or is it the kind of garlic that's already crushed and in a little jar?
In a jar.
In a jar. I've never tried it, but I think you could probably do it. But I'm gonna put these in here for a while because I want it to turn really nice and light golden. Because they're already chopped, you have to do this really quickly because it will burn very, very quickly. So you just maybe rather than putting it in a big, rather than doing what I'm doing, just maybe cook it in a little bit of oil and then put that in your food processor or in your blender, and then you could do the chiles and everything else separately because you don't want it to burn. If garlic burns, it gets very acidic, and it loses that that nice sort of flavor. But absolutely, you can. I would try it. I would just kind of I would saute it separately.
Thank you.
Question. So I've just put my garlic in here, and I just wanted to turn a little bit of, just light golden brown. And I'll put the camera on here so you can see what I'm looking for in a second. And I have it on medium-high heat. I'm gonna flip this over. Whoop.
You know, I never associated matcha with machacar, which makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, because you think matcha, right?
Yeah, like tough people can eat it because it's
Yeah,
hot
like
usually.
exactly, exactly. Okay, so there's our garlic. Um, and I just want sort of light golden brown. And if you have any other questions, I mean, in garlic, and of course now my oil is getting super flavorful. Very, very, very fragrant. I mean, it smells amazing in here. So I'm just gonna do this for maybe.
Maite, I think we lost the feed from your phone.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Is that better? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I must have touched something. And I mean, yeah, garlic is one of these ingredients that make everything taste good, and it's used really, I would say probably every culture, definitely Asian cultures and Mexican cultures are pretty heavy. We use a lot of garlic.
So anyone in the class today, please let us know if you've made this recipe before or made some sort of matcha.
Yeah,
If
that's
you
a
have
good
your own version, let us know.
There are so many versions. Yes, I want to know. So you see, so that's pretty light golden. I'm going to take them out and I'm just going to put them in a bowl. And then I'm going to move, basically do the same thing, but with chiles. I'm just going to set this aside. My oil is still on. And I have, so this is where I've seen this sauce with many different types of chiles, with chile guajillo, with chile ancho, with chile. A lot of times, most of them have chile de árbol, which is this one. Chile chipotle, a combination of chiles. So I'm using two different types of chiles. Chile chipotle or chile morita, which is a dried chipotle, and chile de árbol, and I have 2 ounces of chile. So what I did with all of these is I just de-seeded, stemmed and de-seeded. And because I wear contacts, I put little gloves on because I've learned my lesson. So it's just 2 ounces. And I just want to show you right here just how I de-seeded them. Really simple. Just take just cut the little stem off, and then you just kind of squish it. You don't have to worry about them breaking.
So we have someone who's getting ahead and asking if after, in terms of the final product, how long does it last, for example, in the fridge or?
You don't need to refrigerate it. And it lasts, I've had a salsa matcha in my pantry for 2 years. It has an expiration date. I think it's one of those Best Buy, such and such a date from like last December, and it's just as good. It's honestly just as good. Everything is everything is. I mean, it's in oil, so it's preserved in oil. So it's really going to last forever. I would just keep it out of the refrigerator. I have it all the time. My mom is staying with me. She's 81. She has it all the time. She's never had a problem. So it's one of these because it's really preserved in oil. So I just wanted to just show this because this one especially has so many seeds. Just want to make sure to take all of these seeds out. This is a quite spicy, especially the little chile de árbol. I think what gives it the reputation of the matcha, of the strong and brave, because it's really quite spicy.
So in terms of the chile,
Uh-huh.
is dry chipotle okay or Or you're using dry, but how about
Dry.
canned? Because they also sell canned chipotle.
Yes, no, dry. That's a really good question. 100% dry chipotle. You want to use dry chiles for this. You definitely want to use dry because the canned chipotles, they already have, you know, their own flavors, and this you definitely want to give it your own.
Mhm.
This has to be dried, but you can find, and if you can't find dried chipotles, just use the chile de árbol or use guajillo or use a combination.
Oh, your feed is gone again, Maite. Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
I noticed, and I hear you. It's back. I don't know why it's being so weird, but there it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna add all of these chiles, the 2 ounces of chile. I'm gonna put this in here.
Wow.
You just want to give it a little bit, just for a little bit. I just want to give them a little bit of, just a little bit of flavor.
Mhm.
They're really quite. You see how it's lightening? The color's changing. I don't know if you could tell,
Yeah.
but it lightens a little bit. Oh my God, it's so fragrant right now.
Too bad
Um,
we can't smell that. But
I know.
so
Option. Oh, I don't know what this is. This is like a
there's
little.
there's a question here, and we don't judge in this
Uh-huh.
class demonstration. But I think it's a reminder for me in terms of the description, when we name these classes, Maite, and when we come up with the descriptions. Someone read Salsa Macha, so they thought it was that we were gonna make that it was actually matcha, like the tea.
Oh,
So,
the matcha.
yeah, there was a bit of a
Yes.
translation issue there, but yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. To have
For next time, yeah.
yeah, for next time. Yeah, matcha. Um,
And describe it, yeah.
okay, yeah, we should
So
be a little more descriptive. Sorry, no matcha. I do have some matcha in my pantry. I have it this morning, but that's matcha with the tea. But yes, that's very good feedback for us to know.
yeah.
So I'm just, like I said, I just toasted it, changed the colors. The oil got super super fragrant, and I'm just scooping this out with a slotted spoon. So I had a cup and a half of grapeseed oil, 2 ounces of chile, and 6 cloves of garlic that I browned lightly. I just want to fish everything out. And then I'm gonna put my nuts in. So I'm gonna add half a cup of nuts. You can add peanuts. Peanuts is the more common nut that's used in this. You can add almonds. You can add walnuts. You can add pine nuts. I'm doing pecans because I love pecans. And if you're using, I'm using raw pecans. You can certainly use nuts that are already roasted, especially if you're using peanuts. Oftentimes, peanuts are already salted and roasted. You can definitely use that. Just skip this step. Don't, because otherwise, if your nuts have already been roasted or salted, they're gonna they're this is gonna ruin them. You want to make sure that they're if you're gonna fry them, just make sure that they are raw. So these are my raw nuts. Because if my sesame seeds were raw, I would add them to the pecans, but I'm using already toasted sesames that I had. So if I put my toasted sesames in the oil, they're just going to burn. So you can see they already changed colors. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to scoop them out and add them to everything else. And while I do this, I'm going to just let my oil cool down a little bit because I'm going to use this oil to blend everything together.
Maite, we do have two questions that came in. How much pecans?
About half a cup. Yeah,
Thank you.
half a cup of pecans is what I used. And
then the other question is for the different types of nuts that can be used in this recipe, does it change the flavor?
it does. Yeah, you can also use pumpkin seeds. sunflower seeds. Yes, it does change the flavor. I usually make with peanuts. I just wanted to try it with pecans. So I have a few different salsas in my pantry that I'll show you, and they have different and this will give me some time to allow that to cool. So this is one salsa macha. This is the salsa macha clásica. Oh my gosh. This is made in Oakland, and you can see that it has the sesame seeds. And this one has grapeseed oil, blend of dried chiles, and it says pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, and salt. So no refrigeration needed. I've had this Best Buy April 2024. It's fine. It's just as good. We had it for lunch today. And then this one is really quite interesting. I love this one. Pura matcha. This is chipotle coffee and peanut.
Whoa.
And this ingredients is also grapeseed oil, chipotle, peanuts, chile ancho, decaf coffee, brown sugar, and salt. Right.
Wow.
So you could really, really play with it. And there are many, many different recipes out there. And it's one of those recipes, if you like more nuts, if you like less nuts. I had 2 ounces of chile with half a cup of nuts. You could play with it if you want more nut, if you want less nut. It's one of those things that you could just really, really, really play with. There's no right recipe. And yes, pepitas, amazing. Yeah, the pumpkin seeds is something that's, amazing. And very kind of earthy and yeah. But so I'm gonna go ahead and put all of these in here. I'm wondering if my food processor is too small. I think it'll be okay.
I buy one that has I love it. It has cranberries.
Oh, salsa matcha with cranberries?
It has cranberries. It's like gives it that sweet and sour.
Oh, that sounds delicious. I've never had that. It sounds amazing. So all of this is in my little food processor. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of salt. And I want to add a little bit of sugar because of this nod, to sugar. But this is, optional. One of these, the first one that I showed you, does not have sugar. This one does have sugar. You could play with it completely. So I'm just going to add about half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of sesame seeds. So I'm just going to pour this in here. And then I'm going to add the oil. Just trying to figure out, I'm going to use a ladle maybe. I don't want to carry that oil. Actually, you know what? I'm going to grab the, I'm going to add this where I have the oil. Does anybody have any?
Yeah. So while you're doing that, a very, very good practical question from Joyce is, what do you eat salsa matcha with?
That is a good question. This afternoon, I made tortas. Oh my gosh, this oil is so spicy. And it was delicious. And if they were very random, I basically cleaned out the refrigerator. I had black beans, prosciutto, and salsa macha, a little avocado. They're amazing. They're great with quesadillas. I don't love eggs, but they're really, eggs is one of the main things that they're served with. Seafood, because most Afro-Latino communities in Mexico now are concentrated in Veracruz, in the state of Guerrero. I mentioned Acapulco, the state of Guerrero, and also in the coast of Oaxaca. And those diets have a lot of seafood. So with fish, it's amazing with fish. And so quesadillas, incredible with quesadillas, really with everything. Tacos, it's really, you could really use it with everything. So I'm going to pour this oil in here and then just make it really nice. And I'm actually going to pour this much and then add a little bit more. What did I do with my lid? Okay, here it is. And then I'm just gonna grind it. Well, actually, let me put it in the camera so that everybody can see what it looks like. Hard to see on that from that camera. Oh, wait a minute, I lost it. Okay, there you go.
Oh, wow.
So isn't that beautiful?
Wow.
It's really, really pretty. So it's this, and it smells amazing. I'm like choking a little bit over here, but it smells amazing. So I'm just gonna blend it. But you don't want it super smooth. You do want it a little bit chunky. I'm gonna put the rest of the oil. I still have some oil in the pan. There you go. But this is sort of what you're looking for.
Wow.
This sort of, look at that consistency. So you can see all of the nuts. It smells really, 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 really good. So I'm gonna put it in my little, actually I'm gonna scoop this, flip this over so that, actually I'll put it over here so you can see what I'm doing. I have a little salsa container from Oaxaca, black clay from Oaxaca.
Aw.
And I'm just gonna pour the salsa in here. But look how beautiful that is. And I'm gonna serve this with fried plantains. That's another thing that, this is still a little chunky. I'm gonna maybe fish that out and give it another go. But look at that. It smells amazing. It's gonna be delicious. I'm gonna taste a little bit. Maybe have a little pork. Oh my God, it's so good. It's really, real. Oh my God, it's so spicy. Truly. But here, so that is our salsa matcha. It's really delicious. I could really, I mean, I just put it in here, but I could really taste the pecans. It's really interesting. It's different than any salsa matcha, you know, I've had.
So, so Priscilla, a really good question, and I'm thinking the same thing. Like from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the spiciest, where does this recipe fall? But it really depends, I would say, because I've had some that are really, really spicy, and then some that. So what would you say?
This is pretty spicy. Those chipotle are quite spicy, and the chile de árbol is really, really spicy. The one that I showed, the one with the coffee, this one is not spicy at all. This is more smoky. The other one that I showed you is super spicy. This is pretty spicy on a scale of, I not as spicy as like an habanero. I would give that a 10, but this is pretty much like an 8. But really, it really just depends on what kind of chiles you
yeah.
And also you could add more nuts and do less chiles, and you could really just kind of play with it. It's sort of a wonderful recipe that allows you to really make it your own. It's pretty spicy though, really spicy.
My mom makes it, and when she makes it to give it that base, I guess she puts a tostada, like a fried tortilla, como un tipo tostada, and she just blends it there too, and it just kind of gives it more. It tastes real good.
Oh my gosh! So does it make it a little milder? Is that what it does?
Yeah, it does make it milder.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook some fried plantains. And this is something that, you know, when we see in this areas of Veracruz, of Guerrero, parts of Oaxaca, we see a lot of, you know, of barbacoa, which is this sort of stewed meat with banana leaves, a lot of tamales with banana leaves. And this is something that we see a lot in the Afro, you know, Latino communities, a lot of the sort of banana, and it's one of the ingredients that was brought over, entered Veracruz from Africa, alongside sugarcane. They both sort of came in, hand in hand. And by the end of the 16th century, bananas were an integral part of all colonial menus. There are about 8 different types of bananas came in. Right now, when we go to the store, we usually see like one type of banana. Different types of bananas, and it is, even today, it's Mexico's most consumed fruit, maybe everywhere, especially in the US too. I'm not sure, but it's such a very, common food. But we see a lot of tamales wrapped banana, barbacoa wrapped banana. So we see a lot of it. So I'm going to this is a super ripe plantain, plátano macho, to follow the matcha theme.
So the two questions specific to the recipe. So one from Lisa, if you wanted to reduce the spiciness, could you just cut the chiles in half from this recipe?
I would cut the chiles in half and add more nuts.
And add more nuts. Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise, it's just going to be too much oil, right? So if you're gonna cut the chiles in half, bump up the nuts, or use like a combination of nuts.
Great. And then the other one, curious to why no onions are used in this recipe.
No onion, just garlic. Yeah, no onion.
It'd be something else.
Yeah, we see more onion with the fresh salsa, right?
Right.
The tomato and the cilantro and all of that, but this is no onion. I'm gonna heat up there's still a little bit of oil in there, so I'm gonna heat that up again, so that I could fry my plantains. And yeah, why is that? It has no onion. I don't really have the answer for the why. It's just one of those, traditionally it's garlic, chiles, and nuts, and the sesame. The sesame seed is one of those things that's just a must. So I'm just gonna slice it really, really thick. This is extremely, extremely ripe.
Is that how you want it, or it just happened to be ripe? I mean,
you do want it very ripe. This might be a little ripe. For some reason, I thought this class was on Tuesday, and I bought everything early, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute. So yeah, it's a little bit on the ripe end, but I think it's going to be delicious still. Hopefully, they won't fall apart when I fry them. So it's just a little bit on the ripe end. I'm just we'll see what happens. So I'm just doing a really thick slice. Oops, sorry, there's a dog in the way. Okay, so here's, just gonna give my hands a rinse. And I'm going to put them in the heat. And if anybody has any questions,
any other questions? Let's see. I think we're good. People are asking.
Okay.
See.
Just a few minutes.
There is one question. Take this is for the salsa matcha. If you can use it as a dip.
Yes.
Oh.
Actually, you know what would be really, really delicious? I think I have not tried it, but right now when I heard the word dip, I kind of imagined it in my head. You can add, I'm gonna save this a little bit. You can maybe add a little bit to yogurt, and that would be amazing. Add a little bit of it to yogurt.
Yeah.
And that would be like just amazing. And that would be just like some full fat Greek yogurt. Let me just fill a little bit more time. Full fat Greek yogurt, mix a spoonful or two of the salsa matcha, And I think that would be an incredible dip for vegetables, for really for anything. Actually, that sounds really delicious.
Yeah, because as a dip, it could be very strong. But I've never tried it with yogurt. What a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great, yeah, as it is, I think it would be too strong, but mixed with yogurt would be amazing. So this is what I'm looking for right here, this kind of nice and gold and brown.
And nothing, you didn't put any seasoning?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Just really hot oil. The oil is really seasoned because I cooked everything.
Oh, true.
So, but it's also why we have these little black specks here. I think it's just a little bit of but yeah, there's nothing in there. I'm gonna raise the heat a little bit. It might be, and this is not very Afro-Latino, but a little bit of feta cheese, even with the yogurt, feta cheese, and some of the salsa matcha, it sort of would be delicious. I think this really blend of worlds. And I think it would be really, really good. It's very versatile.
I like that blend of worlds.
A blend of worlds, which is what food is. Really good food.
Dana's ready to go and make it and
yeah, and report back, see what you
yeah
with it. Okay, so these are, I thought they would be falling apart, but they're actually pretty good.
And we have a bit of time. Let us know on the chat what other recipes you want to see us bring to you. We've been collaborating with Maite for some years now, and I'll mention some of the other demos coming up next month, but let us know what other recipes would be of interest to you.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to know. So I'm just putting these now, I'm putting them on a paper towel just to absorb a little bit of the grease. And then I'm just gonna plate them. This is my favorite food, fried plantains. When I was a kid, my mom used to make it and hide it because I would finish them before dinner was ready. So it was not a great hiding place. She would hide them inside the microwave. So I always found them. Oops. And so I'm just gonna get
chiles rellenos. We did chiles en nogada one year, I think. Yeah. And then so people tamales, chiles rellenos, tomato salsas.
Oh, enchilada casserole.
Ooh, fish tacos.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Vegetarian, vegan, interesting.
Yeah. We've done a few.
Yeah. We did that. Oh, enchilada casserole sounds interesting. Or enchiladas. Mole.
Mole. You've done moles for us, yeah.
Yeah.
You've done mole.
I can't remember what's the next one. Are we making
vanilla? The history of vanilla and
history of vanilla, and we're making
and the gelatina.
Oh yeah, we're making gelatin. Gelatina. That's gonna be fun.
Getting ready for the holidays.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So look at that. That's so pretty. And I'm gonna put a little bit of this of our salsita. I'm just gonna drizzle.
So let me just ask and see if people, was anyone following? I mean, was anyone cooking that you all want to share? If you were, because we want to do a photo.
I don't know.
I was trying to cook while you were doing it. I don't think I had all the ingredients. So.
Oh, that's okay. Do you mind coming on camera? Were you? Let's see.
So let me show you what I have. I had the cast iron pan. Can you see it?
What's your name?
Kinshasa. Let me turn it around.
Okay.
All right, let me turn it around. So there's the cast iron pan.
Oh, there you go.
I don't see you.
Oh, it can COG.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the oil. And then, did you say something about sugar? I'm about to put it in here. Did you say
Yeah.
something about sugar? Okay,
A
so
little bit of sugar.
my partner said to only put a tablespoon of sugar.
Okay, I added about a teaspoon, but I think I added half a teaspoon. So I would start with less and then add more if you need to.
Okay, so I'm gonna add the cooked oil and then I'm gonna pulse it and then I'll show you what I have. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
We'd love to take a photo, if you don't
And
mind.
next time we'll make sure to share the recipes in advance.
Yeah, we'll send them like that. We'll send the video and because there's 150 people that registered to be here. So we'll send for those who couldn't come, and then definitely send the recipe as well.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. Oh yeah, desserts. Well, definitely the historical background. Lots of historical background with the next one with vanilla and the gelatin.
Yep. Okay, let me take you a picture.
Okay.
Where's our cook? She was gonna get ready to.
Yeah.
Let me take you one there. A ver, Maite. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. Let me see if we can bring her back on, Priscilla. Can you find her?
Can I get her name again so I can?
It was Kinshasa. Oh, she's.
Oh,
she's
I see.
typing it.
Let's see. Okay.
Oh, there. Oh yeah. Oh, it's green.
Mine is green because I didn't have the red. I didn't know that we needed the cooked ones, so we bought fresh ones and we fried
Okay.
it. So we're gonna see
Oh.
how it comes out. But
Okay.
again, it's an experiment. So let me see.
I love it.
It's a little loose. I may have to do when we go off camera. I may fry up some more peppers and add. I use the almonds and like 2 packs of the individual serving size. But let me see what it's like.
Okay.
Well, kudos to you. You had the ingredients there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll definitely
fresh,
send it for
the
sure.
salsa macha with the fresh chiles.
Yeah, and when I started green, I'm like, oh no, not the matcha tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll describe. We'll we'll just make sure we describe it on the
Yes.
when we come up with the
description.
with the titles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very good. You want to come back and then we'll take a picture?
It's spicy. But it does taste, it's an interesting taste. I'm not sure what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I do taste the almonds. I taste the spice. I do taste the garlic. I would probably want to fry up a little bit more peppers so I could be, it's a little loose.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, let's just take do you mind coming on camera?
Sure.
Okay.
I have my glasses on. Sorry.
Please bring your sauce if you can, like salsa. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing and thank you, Maite.
Thank
Let's
you so much.
let's give her an applause with virtual applause. Muy bien.
Thank you for being here. Oh, that's spicy.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So that concludes our program today. Thank you again, Maite, and thank you all of you for joining us today. Our next event with Maite Gomez Rejon is on October 3rd at 4 p.m. PST for the history of vainilla and gelatina dessert recipe. So if you enjoyed today's program, I do encourage you to join us at other events, as I mentioned, October 3rd, but there's others, and you could find out what those are. You can visit us at our aarp.org/CA. You can also follow us on social media at ARP California on Facebook and at ARPCA on X and Instagram. So that concludes our program. Again, thank you so much for joining, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank
Muchísimas
you.
gracias.
I wanted to add that I added a link to my podcast that season 2 started today at Hungry for History. I just added a link.
Yes, please visit that link
And
and enjoy the rest of your night.
thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.